now we saw you, Seth.
Welcome, my name is Mary Bennett, and my speech today is about animal control and how America deals with the out-of-control pet population. Did you know that the Humane Society in the United States estimates that 6 to 8 million dogs and cats each year go through the shelter system? And of these animals, only half find homes. The other 4 million are euthanized. The current animal control processes in the United States are struggling to deal with the growing population of animals that are lost and homeless. There's a historical foundation that current animal control policy is built on poor planning and does not consider the long-term effectiveness of the policy itself. The current animal control practices are also ineffective, and empirically tested alternatives are much more effective. The history of the U.S. animal control policies has vastly influenced the present state of the initiatives concerning the control of domestic pet population. One must first have a basic understanding of the history of U.S. animal control policies in order to best understand the current policy we have today. In the 20th century, starting around the 1930s, animals were not able to roam free anymore because of problems with population of humans versus population of animals and rabies, which became a serious public threat. According to the Humane Society, state legislators responded to these problems by creating policies and establishing new laws that required dogs to be vaccinated and registered. Cats were not included in this. The primary function was to decrease the amount of dogs running loose and to store and find new homes for the dogs that were caught. In the 1970s, the pet population exploded as the guided policy focused towards getting unlicensed dogs more off public property instead of getting dogs vaccinated and registered. Most shelters at this time were built to capture, store, and kill animals. Limited education on spade and neutering was offered at this time, and since the 1970s, those same trends have seemed to just continue with some slight improvements in the 1990s. Although public opinion has helped to shape ideas and attitudes about the government's role in animal control, current policy still lacks the funding and resources needed to eliminate the overpopulation of the dogs and cats. According to Ed Box of the USA Today magazine, current animal control agencies are forced to still fight the symptoms rather than causes because they are overwhelmed by the numbers of animals and underwhelmed by funds and aid from the public. According to the Humane Society, a number of domestic animals are still free roaming and are increasing because adoption programs are failing to be acceptable. The American public is fascinated with designer brand dogs and cats instead of adopting from shelters. In fact, only 10% of all dogs that are in American homes are adopted from shelters. There's also a lack of spade and neutering of animals, which increases the pet population. Resources like funding and staffing are so scarce that animals must be euthanized in order to make room for other animals. Andrew Roswell, an executive vice president of the Humane Society, indicates that animal control facilities have received more funding per animal tend to have less euthanasia rates per animal as compared to the shelters that have less funding per animal. A combination of these proactive strategies that have been tested on limited communities seems to be the most successful approach at decreasing euthanasia rates and controlling the pet population. Current animal control methods are closely related to the history of animal control in the United States, and a few emerging alternatives have offered some hope to the public. I will close with the following narrative talking about from an unknown worker at the Louisiana SPCA. When you say to an animal shelter or Humane Society employee, "I could never do your job," it would break my heart. I love animals too much. It sounds like you're saying that in order to do the job, one has to either be cold-hearted or an animal hater. Your declaration leaves us with some questions. If you can't do this job, who will? Someone must when you've euthanized the 500th kitten for the month because there's no more homes available. Will you take the 501st kitten? Our hearts are completely torn and we just can't kill one more. You already have enough pets? We understand. We do too. Our cages are over capacity. Our foster homes are all full. Do you have a solution? If so, please tell us. We hate this part of the job. Right now, at this moment, there is a dog or cat in a shelter employee's arms, and there's nowhere on earth for this creature to go. There's no cage space. There's no foster home. There's no forever ever home anywhere. It's a heartbreaking feeling. There's a really nice yellow lab mix named Jake. He's 3 years old, healthy, housebroken, and loves kids. But he can't find a home because he's generic looking and not flashy, and he's not a puppy. We've had him 3 weeks, and we can no longer justify to take up the cage space. What would you do? There are 10 dogs that came in today. We have 2 runs. Who has to die? Walking through the kennel, having to choose which one has no more time is the worst part. It breaks our hearts. Do you know of a way to keep Jake alive and still be fair to the others? Our hearts are so attached, and they're breaking in a million pieces. So, okay, you can't work in an animal shelter. Not everyone can. Can you help in other ways? Can you buy a bag of food? Can you come and walk the dogs? Maybe if you just send a check that said thank you, that would help.
Good job. Good job.
It's horrible, baby.
No, it was good.
Oh, you're
I think
flash
you guys will
it
be-
again. You
Well,
better.
no, I gotta see how much time it took to do
Don't
it
you
for real.
need to